Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club.
Yes, indeed.
We got a special guest in the building. You don't need it? We put it on all the time. I like to see the lights on. Is that all right with you? All right. We got a special guest in the building, Hasan Minhaj.
The host of Patriot Act. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, bro?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to tell you something, man. One of the greatest stand-up specials that's not actually a stand-up special because you were sitting down.
Wow.
Was you in front of Congress this year.
Oh.
That is so underrated and so hilarious.
Really?
What happened?
The
Tell me
student
what
loan.
happened. I missed it. What happened?
Envy, you missed this?
Did I miss it?
It was on IG. It was pretty poppin'.
Did I see it? If it was on IG, I see it.
Yeah, so, the student loan crisis is a big issue for our generation, I would say, for sure. I think it's one of the biggest.
Absolutely.
And so I was asked to testify about the student loan crisis. They saw my episode that we did on the show about student loan debt, specifically how student loan borrowers are just getting screwed over
all the time
by Navient, FedLoan, whoever their loan service provider is. A lot of people our age are going into deferment when they should be going into an income-based repayment plan, and they're really screwing themselves over. So yeah, testify before Congress.
Yeah.
And it was a weird situation.
Yeah, but you did it in such a digestible way because you were speaking our language while simultaneously speaking their language, and it was funny and informative.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why isn't this everywhere?
I don't know. I don't know, man. But when you go into Congress, you totally understand why stuff doesn't get done.
Ooh, explain.
There's a lot of battle rapping.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Between both sides. There's a lot of clap back.
Yeah.
The Republicans are blaming the Democrats. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans. So there's a lot of this. And the issue can't move forward.
It's not solution-oriented.
No, it's not solution-oriented. It's not. And to me, the reason why I wanted to testify about it was I actually do feel it's a bipartisan issue. Like for me, I'm like blue or red. Constituents in both your guys' states and counties have this problem.
Absolutely.
Trust me, anybody between the ages of 18 to 40 is probably dealing with this, and they're going to ask you about it on the campaign trail. So this isn't like an identity politics issue.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
I got you.
Yeah. You know how there's certain issues you just won't be able to win because they're not able to access it?
Yeah, like police brutality against black and brown people.
criminal justice reform.
Yeah.
Like real talk. It's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, if they don't know anybody who has been involved in the criminal justice system, they won't see the cruelty of it.
That's a fact.
So for me, student loans was such a rubber meets the road issue because an entire generation in America was told you have to go to college.
Correct.
It's not even a negotiating thing. You got to go. All right, so if we do this, why are student borrowers treated like deadbeats? Like the same policies that you have upon people who have gambling debt, the same thing goes for student loan debt.
Did you ever pay? Did you pay off your loans?
Now, I'm lucky. I'm a child of immigrants. My parents made me live at home, so I don't have crippling student loan debt. I have crippling emotional debt, and that's a different issue.
What's that?
Crippling emotional debt?
Yes.
Just knowing that I could have been out in these streets for 4 years, but instead I was living upstairs in my childhood bedroom.
I just gave Donkey today to this guy this morning who got mad because his mom wouldn't let him have sex in the house, so he killed her dog.
That's insane.
Yeah, and he was 39.
Jesus.
Did you have sex in your house, in your mom's house?
Did I have sex? This is being recorded, and my parents watch everything on YouTube. Don't try to get me. Are you trying to get me caught up with Seema?
I'm sorry.
No, Mom, I would never do that. I kept everything strictly halal in the house, and I would just go upstairs to study, to be quite honest.
No, honestly, seriously, I believe you did, though. I believe you respected the household.
I did, but it's kind of crazy when I think about it. I did bring some girls back to the house. It was insane.
Yeah.
It's insane now that I think about it.
Now you decided on your latest episode of Patriot Act to hit on the topic of mental health.
Yes.
Why was it important for you to tackle this topic?
I mean, you've talked about this, man. It's not a thing we talk about in our communities. We just don't. It's one of those things where it's just like it's the two solutions to feeling depressed or anxious are hydration and prayer. It's like drink some water and go pray. And if that's not working, you better figure it out.
Right.
You're not drink something harder.
Yeah.
Some liquor.
Yeah. Or take a nap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, if you know someone who's drinking and sleeping all day, they might be depressed. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And so to me, one of the big things was I wanted to talk about it because there's a huge stigma around it. Then if you do manage to actually try to get the help you need, why it's so hard. Like I know a lot of people that are like, man, I tried to go see a therapist. Blue Cross Blue Shield gave me this whole list. I called all 200 numbers. 90% of them aren't even taking new patients. Some of them aren't even, practices anymore.
Yeah, they're finding a lot of ways to deny people mental health treatment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do was show, all right, these are the mechanisms that are put in place that are preventing you from getting the care that you needed. Because I really thought about it. Like, I really tried to reach out and get help. And I was lucky enough that when I was put in a logjam, okay, I could just pay out of pocket. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. So we actually found, our news team found, there's the law. By law, you are required to have the same amount of mental and physical health care. It has to be covered the same. There's
the 2008
parody.
mental health parody and addiction quality?
Yeah. And that to me is like what I love most about the show is like, we show you, all right, here's why something sucks. Mm-hmm. Here are the mechanisms and pulleys in play that are preventing you from getting the thing that you need, and here's what you can do to try to circumvent that.
But what made you go to a therapist? What made you call a therapist and reach out for help?
I was talking to friends, and I was describing things to them, and they're like, that's not normal. Like a random Tuesday afternoon, and my heart is just beating fast. And I'm like, no, this is how I know I'm alive. Like, I'm really living.
Yeah, having a panic attack.
Yeah.
Anxiety. Yeah.
Full-on panic attack. Or I'm at a doctor's appointment with my wife, and we're just sitting in the lobby. My wife was pregnant at the time with our first. And, like shortness of breath. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just these odd moments where I all of a sudden go into flight or fight. And I honestly thought, like, man, this is normal. Because when my perception of mental health, I think of Arkham Asylum.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
we think of
word,
straitjackets. You don't think of it as like a gamut, like this spectrum. And just to be honest, I also thought it meant you're weak. It's just the way, we grew up, right? Mm-hmm. And you start to understand the more you talk about it, the more you research it, it's just like anything else. You know how like exercising and diet's the new wave? People are like, oh, I don't eat that. I do this instead. Nobody's saying you're weak because of that. Right. This is just about running at an optimum level. That's all.
Right.
Tell
us more about the 2008 mental health parody and addiction quality. Because I didn't even hear about this until your show.
Yeah.
So I got schooled.
That was the shocking thing too. Yeah. So Patrick Kennedy, who's one of the Kennedys you probably don't recognize. He's not one of the popping Kennedys.
He's not one of the popular ones.
No. No one cares who he's dating. They're not writing books about Patrick. He unfortunately, he had severe mental health issues. One day, unfortunately, he crashed his car. He was also using substance abuse to help overcome those things. And he realized that became his calling card, his mission to put things in place that give people equal access to mental health care and physical health care. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the big thing. Mm-hmm. Your insurance company legally cannot deny you the same amount of health care, mental health care to physical health care. It has to be the same.
Do you think it's hard to talk about something so serious while still bringing humor to it?
No, yeah. I think like that's just good joke writing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? For me.
And most of the time, like, the real funny stuff comes from true experiences. Like, I can think of plenty of times I've had a panic attack and it could probably be hilarious.
It is pretty funny. Yeah. And like, comedy is built on pressure, and a punchline is a release of pressure. So there's no time like now to be doing comedy. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of very high tense situations.
Did you ever try substances to get past anything that you were dealing with, whether it was smoking, weed, edibles, alcohol?
No, man. You know what's so crazy? It's like I grew up super religious. Mm-hmm. So, like that Muslim guilt is like Catholic guilt. You know? You know what I mean? Where you're always just like, Allah is watching. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I would super freak out. I mean, like pepperoni pizza freaked me out in the first grade.
Pepperoni pizza?
Yeah, you know how we are with swine. Right, yeah.
So why'd you eat a pepperoni slice?
Well, this girl that I had a crush on was like, do you want a slice of pepperoni pizza?
And you're not going to say no?
And I'm not going to say no.
Whoa.
Come on.
How do you forgive yourself?
I did it. And you know what? When I had it, it was so good. I was like, this is why God made it. Haram.
So you still eat
it's a test. Say what?
So you still eat pepperoni pizza?
No, that was my first and one time. But I got it.
You got it.
Like I totally understood why. Like God says you can't have it. It's so good.
But the guilt killed you.
The guilt killed me, bro.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did you have to pray it away, or did you tell your mom that you ate pork?
I didn't tell my parents. No.
So now they know that you have.
Yeah. Now they
women in the room, and now they know you have pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, man. Basically, pretty much. Didn't you deal with that? Like you guys grew up religious, right? Like you kind of and then you do the sort of like you do the spiritual long division on it.
What is spiritual?
You know what I mean? Like you go like, all right, if I go confess, then and if I pray on this day and I do this many rosaries, you carry the one. That forgave that.
You
sin.
carry the one.
You know what I mean? Like
Charlamagne, you talk about praying when you took your HIV test. A long time ago. You prayed.
I think we've all done that though.
Right.
The first time you've ever taken an HIV test, especially back in the day when you had to wait 2 weeks to get the results.
What?
Yes, we all
Every
did a
day
lot
I
of
prayed
praying.
17 times a day.
You know what's so funny, man? Like the one time that I had to go take a test like that, I don't know what it was, like blood test and all that stuff. It was the one time I was so glad I was a prude. You know what I mean? When they're like, do you have multiple partners? I'm like, no. Have you ever like had sex with needles? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like
What's sex with needles?
they'll ask you these just like
No, they say, have you ever used needles? Not sex with needles.
Sex with needles? What the hell?
They'll ask you these
Freaky
insane
stuff like that. What
questions.
doctor you
Use
going
needles.
to?
And I'm like, man, thank God I'm such a scaredy cat. Like,
Oh no, I was a whore. I was the exact
Really?
opposite.
You were out
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
You've talked
I
about this
I fucked crackheads before. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you got to write the list down, you don't really want to write the crackheads down because like, well, they didn't really count. But then you
They
thinking to yourself,
counted, man.
that's probably the one you probably got it from. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. Now, what happened with the Netflix CEO Reed Hastings? They pulled an episode of Patriot Act?
well, that was in regards to an episode that we did about Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia sent a letter and said, this is in violation of cyber law that we have if you speak disparagingly about the kingdom. So they pulled the episode in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, just in Saudi Arabia.
Just in Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
And look, it just became a thing because,
But what did you say that made him pull it?
I mean, I had a hot take. I was like, murder's bad. You shouldn't kill journalists and consulates.
That's all you said.
I mean, yeah, it was
Hot
a
take.
super
Ooh, that's
controversial
edgy.
take. Yeah.
Ooh, you
Super
really on a
controversial
limb with
take.
that one.
Yeah. But look, at the end of the day,
gracious.
I'm just trying to be more entertaining. That's what I learned. I learned you got to be more entertaining specifically about Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia specifically. That's why I got to be funnier for the prince.
But clearly he don't have a sense of
serious.
humor.
No, look, man, this is a learning experience for me. I thought about it, all right? Like 50 Cent went over there, Janet Jackson went over there, Tyga went over there, all the heavy hitters. So what I got to do is I just got to go to Saudi Arabia, get the entire royal family together, go to a hotel, maybe like the Four Seasons in Riyadh, and lock the doors until they think I'm entertaining enough.
Are you afraid of what could happen if they don't find you funny, Hasan?
I mean, that's just like, I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah.
That's just the burden I'm going to have to bear.
You had a good tweet about it, though. You said the best way to stop people from watching something is to ban it, make it trend online, and then
Yes.
leave it on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. Everybody will go see what the hype is
The
about.
Streisand effect, yeah, of course. Just to put this in perspective, they Jordan 1 banned my episode.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? But like that made the Jordan 1.
Right. So you still
I'm not a sneakerhead,
heavy.
so break that
Yeah,
down
you still
for
a
me.
sneakerhead
All right,
heavy, I
back
can
in the
tell.
day with the Jordan 1,
Right.
the NBA banned it.
Correct.
And Michael Jordan and Nike, they had to pay a fee every time he wore the shoe.
And he would wear it every game.
Yeah, and anytime you make something dangerous or kind of exclusive,
Yeah,
people are like,
yeah,
well, what's this
yeah,
thing?
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
effect
yeah.
of like, don't look at this thing. And you're like, well,
I gotta look at it anyway.
Yeah,
So you're still a sneakerhead, I can tell.
of course.
Do you still buy sneakers like crazy?
No.
No.
I have the wardrobe department buy them, and then I get to wear
then
them.
you can-
Yeah,
Your shoe game
because I
today-
also have kids.
Your shoe game today is not screaming sneakerhead.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, it's just like Chuck Taylor. It's all good.
They look like fake Chuck Taylor.
No,
Put 'em
Well, now
on,
they
put
got
'em
the
on, let's
lightning
see 'em.
stripe.
No,
Let's see 'em.
come
Put 'em
on, man.
let's
Shoe
see 'em.
cam.
Let's see 'em.
We're gonna do a shoe
Let's see 'em.
cam?
Let's see 'em.
These are collabs. Look at this. It's got the lightning bolt. This is the Offspring collab. No, that's cool. It's cool.
Now, you made the 2019 Time 100 list.
Yes.
How'd that
Congratulations
feel?
on that.
It felt great, man. It felt cool to be around people that are doing significantly more work than me.
You doing a good job, though, bro.
No, it's cool. It's cool. You know,
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift is there, The Rock is there. For you to be like, especially for me as a comedian, to be there, yeah, it's a big deal.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Do you feel like your voice is finally being heard the way you want it to?
Yeah, I mean, what I love most about the show is I get to authentically kind of be myself.
Mhm.
You know, like I finally have a vehicle where I really get to be me. And the topics that we choose are things that I really, really care about. And we try to pick topics that ultimately, like when rubber meets the road, everybody cares about. Like it affects your day-to-day life. You know what I mean?
When you did the White House Correspondents' Dinner in
Yeah.
2017, right?
Yeah.
Even making jokes about the Trump administration, and do you still think it's a laughing matter now?
What do you mean? Oh, making jokes about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
administration?
yeah,
Of course. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, like what's happening right now is like dire, but it doesn't make what he does any less funny. You see when he had like the candy bar and he was putting it on the minion's head?
My God,
How is that not funny?
That was hilarious.
That was amazing.
And his
And the
wife
fact that
followed
they
him.
had the bucket right there, and he was just like, but why?
Yeah, he put it on the head and then it slid off and went into. It's just like, just be a
His wife
person.
followed him, put it right on that. I'm like, what is wrong with
Yeah,
him?
just be a human being.
Why has nobody asked him about that? I just want to know why. What were you putting it on the kid's head
And then
for?
pat to get on that. What's wrong
Yeah,
with him?
it was insane. It's insane. How are you not going to make fun of that? moments like that where you're genuinely a strange, bizarre person. Did you ever see the one with the umbrella? He has the umbrella, he's going up the stairs, he gets to the plane, doesn't know what to do with the umbrella. You close an umbrella if you're a human being. He just leaves the umbrella there, it blocks the door, and he keeps walking.
Well, you're probably not even used to holding his own umbrella.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Rich guy like that,
Sure,
his whole life
sure.
probably had somebody holding an umbrella. He had a Farnsworth Bentley with him his whole life.
Right.
So he blocked the plane, nobody could get on behind him.
Yeah, it's just
Goodness gracious,
it's just a weird, bizarre thing.
What have you learned about the mental health space since you did this episode?
What have I learned?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned are the ways in which insurance companies will deny treatment. One of the things that's the scariest is the fail first model. So say you have, unfortunately, a child who's dealing with severe depression or anorexia. You know the treatment that they deserve. You know the specialist they may need to go to. Your insurance company is going to make you fail first at a shittier, lower thing. Then you have to upgrade to the next medication, then the next, then the next, then the next. And there's all these terrible human interest stories where kids, teenagers, are dying early because of suicide and other things because they didn't get the care that they needed.
Yeah, their excuse is they don't want to get kids hooked on high-profile drugs or strong drugs.
Sure.
So they try smaller things out, smaller dosage to see if those work first.
Sure, but what about something like in-home treatment, which is very expensive?
Right.
And you know your child needs that. You know, we showed a story of a girl, unfortunately, her older sister had passed away from suicide. And she was feeling the angst and that depression, and they asked for in-home care, and she was denied that in-home care, and she ultimately also took her own life. Stuff like that.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like that the way these kids are being raised now is maybe a little too soft now, where everything affects them, like Instagram taking the likes away and things like that? Like it's almost like we're overly protective and protecting them, and it's causing kids to have these problems, and everything's bullying, and they can't defend themselves.
Well, I think the thing that's unnatural, and you guys had Cal Newport on the show,
Yes, sir.
right?
Digital Minimalism.
Yeah.
Love that book.
What he's talking about there is just the fact that, like an open wound, we're exposed to all this stuff. And I think young minds shouldn't be exposed to that either. Something super fucked up when you think about it, when you read even Walter Isaacson's book about Steve Jobs, and they asked Steve Jobs, after the iPad came out, do you give your kids the iPad? And he's like,
Nope.
No. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you find out that the CEOs of some of these big fast food companies would never, ever eat McDonald's or drink Pepsi, to me, that's the concerning thing. And look, it has that slot machine effect on our minds. I don't think it's good for children or adults. So the social media aspect of it, of constantly being involved in a conversation, not being able to hear your own thoughts, is a huge problem. You're never going to be able to hear yourself.
Right. So what do you think about them taking the likes away from Instagram?
I think it's great. Dude, look, my phone right now, I've tried to do everything I possibly could to make this thing not, my phone's in black and white.
I keep hearing that's a good technique.
Have you seen, I don't know if you've seen this with your kids, my daughter, she's about 20 months. When you put this in front of her, it's like an LED starburst. She's just like, what? She just wants to, like, it looks like she just dropped Molly. She's like,
Yeah.
It's magic, dude.
Yeah.
It's magic. And so, I don't know if you remember your first computer class, but remember the old school Macs when it was just that ugly black and white, the black and green? You didn't even want to look at it.
Shit, I'm going to try that.
So now I'm trying to look at this thing. This is just a device. It doesn't own me. I own this thing, and I just use it when I need it. It's a tool. It's not here to fill my thoughts or fill extraneous time.
Yeah, I realize that when you just spend stupid amounts of time just scrolling.
Yeah.
You're not even looking at anything. Like you could have been spending that time reading a book or listening to an informative podcast or talking to somebody you love.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing there.
But I think they need to take the comments off.
You think it's the comments?
I think it's the comments, because the comments is what really hurts the kids when it's trolls and they're saying things, and I think that's what really hurts.
Well,
That's what really hurts
likes
those
and
kids.
comments is that sort of slot machine effect. So I think it'd be great.
So what does it require for somebody seeking therapy to get approved by an insurance company?
Well, ultimately, you have to complain. And I know the older generation asks that you don't complain, but we found, studies have shown that when you actually do complain and you report it, 39% of those cases are approved. You do get your money back. Yeah.
And you had your parents on the episode.
Yeah, I mean on a digital thing, yeah.
How'd that go?
I was concerned.
Why?
I mean, anytime you get the cameras on your parents, you're always like, this could go one of two ways. But they're cool. My dad loves the camera.
Yeah.
Does your dad like the camera?
My dad likes attention.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he would absolutely love the camera. But there's a reason I would never put it on him.
Has he ever asked to be on the Breakfast Club? That'd be amazing.
No, my daddy is old school, bro.
That's
Meaning
what his dad
that
did at the Jets game last time. His dad went to the game.
he tased the Marine on 9/11.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was a few years. How long ago was that?
That was
6,
a
7
while
years
ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he tased the Marine on 9/11.
Yeah.
But my father is old school. Like my father is what you would call the epitome of toxic masculinity in 2019.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
Like if you order a Smirnoff Ice at my father's bar,
Uh-huh.
he'd be like, he ordered a.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's like that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, he's that type of guy.
All right.
Yeah, so
All right.
why would I ever put a camera in front of his
Yeah,
face?
got it.
Charlamagne's like, I say crazy enough stuff as it is.
Exactly.
Goodness gracious.
Got it.
When you do your jokes, do you ever not do a joke because you know that your mom and dad will be watching? Or
No,
listening?
it's not that. Actually, the biggest thing to me is whenever I do a joke, I'm trying to think about what hill am I trying to die on? Like what? For real.
For real. You're
It's
right.
not even about mom and dad. Like I'm grown now. Like I'm at the point now where like if mom and dad say something about a joke, I go, Mom, Dad, like come on, like I paid for the last vacation. You can't tell me that. Like you can't tell me that. But it really is like, all right, if all of these things are going to be analyzed and scrutinized, like for me, if I'm going to point it at something, it better be worth it. For me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Is there a hill to die on in 2019?
There's a lot of hills to die on, man. There's a lot of powerful people to make fun of. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things to make fun of.
I don't think none of them are worth dying on, though. And I realize that when you start debating about certain things, you're like, I don't really care about this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have an opinion and you state your opinion. Like last week when T.I. got in trouble with everybody.
Send his daughter's time and stuff, yeah.
You know what I mean? When he was talking about checking his daughter's hymen. I thought that might have been a bit much, but I can understand an overprotective father.
Yeah, no. Like all that stuff, to me, that's not. I'm talking about a hill to die on is when I went to Congress and was like, you have got to acknowledge that this is a problem that is affecting a gen. That is something where.
Got you.
You get what I'm saying?
Got you.
What Kaepernick was trying to stand for, that is a hill to die on.
Got you.
The
All right.
conversation that was happening
you.
with the NBA in China, like we have these huge global brands with censorship. What are we gonna do about it?
Got you.
That's a hill to me.
Okay, that makes
to
sense.
me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that's a real conversation.
Gotcha.
Not stupid ass
Yeah.
Twitter outrage.
Yeah, you called so and so this. Like to me, I'm like, I'm not even worried about that. That's not even. You know what I mean? You only have so many shots. You know?
Yeah.
That's it.
I get it.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for coming.
Hasan
Thanks for
Minhaj.
having me.
Hasan Minhaj.
The new season of Patriot is out now,
It's
right?
right now, every Sunday.
Got you.
All right, check it
Yeah.
out now. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.